It's not like, oh, let you get closed and now you're on your own and don't call me, I'll call you kind of thing. No, it's relational. It is a partnership. It's a fractionalized partnership from start to finish. And I just want our franchisees to know that we as a team genuinely care about that. But especially me.
Suzanne's back. What's up?
Hey, Rick.
Gosh, I'm choked up already.
Oh,
Glad to have you back.
well, thanks.
Yeah.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, regular guest. Your chair lower down. You look so short.
Well, I am short.
How tall are you?
5'3".
Yeah, you are short. Yeah, you have a big presence.
Oh,
and
is
your
that
head's
it?
really large. And so between those two things, also coming from another large head club member.
Yes, we
founding
have
member.
melon heads. It's all the brains that
We
are
do.
in there.
Can you wear hats at all?
No, they're always too big. I wear a man's hat.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Your head's too big, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have hats and sizes.
Well, I know. And I usually have to have like a size that would typically be for a man. Otherwise, like my girlfriends brought me a hat one year for my birthday and I had like a permanent like ring. It gave me a really bad headache because it was so tight. And then like I had a ring indentation on my forehead for like a week.
Yeah. I've been buying hats from this new company and they have them sized. It's great. I'll have other people put them on as a joke and they like sit on their ears and they can put both hands in each side.
Yeah.
That's how
I
big my
usually
head is.
don't wear hats for that reason.
Yeah, same. Same. Yeah, just look weird. What, do you have a dad joke?
I do. So tonight, I was going to make alligator for dinner,
Oh, delicious.
but then I realized I only had one crock pot.
That's so bad. It's so dumb. You ready?
I'm ready.
I have to read mine because this is how busy we've been. It's so simple. I should be able to remember it. Why do cow milking stools only have 3 legs?
I know they only have 3 legs, but I don't know why.
Because the cow has the udder.
I love it.
It's so bad. It's so bad. Well, look, I'm glad to have you on. We've done this with Matt once, and it might be fun to do it with some of the other folks on the leadership team. But I think it's good for potential franchisees and existing franchisees and whoever just to get to know our team and see who they may be working with or who they're already working with.
Yeah, I think that's
So
good.
I'd love to just ask you some questions today, if that's cool.
Go for it.
Everybody likes to talk about themselves, right? You've always said that.
Always said that. That's why I love doing podcasts. Who doesn't like talking about themselves?
Yeah, exactly. So I think you tell the story a lot at Discovery Day. How did you get to be the CEO of Alloy?
So it's kind of a cool story. So back in 1994.
Did I say CEO? I meant COO.
I think you said COO.
But you're you're a partner as well. So you're a
Yes.
partner in the business and you're the active COO.
Correct.
Sorry, go.
So back in 1994, I had my 4th and final child. And I just really had recently moved to this area right around the corner and I wanted to get back into shape. So I joined, at the time it was called Good Bodies. That's how long ago
Oh
it
my
was.
God.
You had been in business for less than 2 years. And so I joined and literally with the thought in mind of I'm just going to get back in the habit of working out and learn like what to do. And then I'll just do it on my own at home.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That is literally what I told myself for the first 15 years.
Every year. This is my year. I'm going to start doing this on my own. That's hilarious.
No, but I really loved it. It immediately, it just was fun. And that's when your model was one-on-one. But it soon came to pass that I would see a girlfriend of mine from my neighborhood who was a new friend of mine who had just had a baby as well. And we were like, gosh, wouldn't it be better if we could work out together?
Go figure.
Yeah.
You mean in a small group?
In a small group. So
You guys might have been the birth of it. Actually, I tell the story organically. You guys were.
We invented. I tell all people at Discovery Day, I really invented small group. Rick will tell you it was him. It was me.
Well, I often say we have these clients and they say, hey, can I bring a friend? And you guys are paying less. We're having more fun. I make more for the hour. I can help more people. And so even all the things aligned. And that was sort of the
beginning.
The birth, if you will, of the idea. And then we end up ripping the Band-Aid off and going to that completely.
That's right. And I remember when that happened, I was a little mad. Mm-hmm. But you told me to shut up and just do what you said.
No, you weren't mad because I believe as a client, you were always my favorite client because I never understood the way you thought was hilarious to me. I have a couple of examples of that. One was when we went to small group and I asked your opinion. I'm like, hey, I want to ask you about this. And you go, don't even ask me. I'm like, why? You're like, because every idea you have, I hate it. And then I end up liking it later.
Yeah.
So just make the change and tell me what to do. Right. I'm like, oh my God, I love her.
Maybe that was the conversation. That was it. Yeah.
And then there was another time when the holidays went by. Oh, yeah. And we did like I think it's the first year we did like Project Zero, where like don't gain weight over the holidays. And you're like, well, I'm not going to participate in that because I'm always going to gain weight. I'm like, all right. But then you just were curious. So we got on the scale and I think you'd gained like 4 pounds.
No, 2. I gained 2.
Was it 2 pounds?
I'm like, yes.
I know. Well, most people, like if they gained any, my expectation was that you'd be like, oh no,
I need to get Suzanne, you gained 2 pounds.
I know.
Like, why are you like
you got on the scale and you're like, yes. I'm like, you gained weight, right? And you're like, yeah, but you should have seen the shit I was eating. Like I was so bad. I thought it was gonna be way worse than this. And I was like, I love your attitude, man. You were the best. You were always the best. So anyway, I do remember those days, and I remember you being the impetus for one of the groups that was like, hey, there's something here. And that ended up becoming our model, which became our special sauce, which became the franchise. So
cool
props
story.
To you.
And then, back in, I don't know what year it was, 2009, I went through a big life change. Got divorced after 27 years. My kids are kind of grown and gone, really, except for my youngest. He was still in high school. But so I was trying to figure out Suzanne 2.0, like what the rest of my life and my world was going to look like. So I put together a business plan, got my real estate license. And then right about the same time, you were doing so much traveling, consulting, speaking, all of that stuff. And I remember Matt Helland, he talks about this still to this day, put some feelers out there, like who wants to be Rick's assistant? And I just started laughing. I'm like, oh, wait, do I have to wear a French maid costume? Like, what does that even look like?
Entail?
Yes. Do I have to go to the dry cleaners and pick up a dry cleaning? Well, what does this mean? So anyway, at first I just kind of laughed and I'm like, I'm whatever. Like we know each other way too well for me to be your assistant. That would be so weird. Well, the long and short of it was, you just needed some part-time help to kind of keep things organized. And even though I was getting my real estate license at the time and I had these plans to, this was like 2009-ish, when the real estate market was falling apart, I just saw some opportunities with foreclosures and things like that I could flip some houses, and that probably would have been a really good idea. But I ended up taking the job to help you. And I remember one of the things that we talked about, because one of my hesitations was I had been coming to the gym for 16 years at that point, and it was a really important place to me. It was my second place. And so I was concerned that if it didn't work out, if you didn't like the job that I did, or I didn't like working for you, then it would be awkward and weird. And, I wouldn't want to come here and work out anymore. And I didn't like the thought of that. So I remember we just had a really grown-up conversation. And I said, as long as we can both agree to this, that if it doesn't work out for any reason or no reason, I just don't want to work for you anymore, whatever, that it won't be weird. Like we can still be friends and I can still come and work out there. And you were like, heck yes, man. Like we're adults. And so I went to work for you, and very quickly you had this idea for the licensing business. I kind of started putting things in an organized fashion. So we had like a manual, started selling that, and then, the rest was history.
Yeah. And I mean, your background, you finished top of your class in college and then ran your husband's medical practice while having 4 little kids. So,
yep,
and you can tell a lot about someone's character based on how they show up to something regularly scheduled. So for you, it was your workout. You were never late. You always showed up. You always worked hard. There was all these like intangibles. And I know like fitness is a weird parallel, but we've done a whole podcast on how fitness and business can be paralleled in a lot of ways.
Yep.
So I knew I knew you were really smart. I knew that you were very efficient. And I think it was really just more like a travel coordinator to start, to be honest, just to keep all that together. But you're right. There was so much scope creep eventually. Things started really jumping off. We'll talk about like in licensing, because at one point we had a couple of people make a run at us, which gave us a valuation amount, right? So we had a value for the business when it was licensing. And then you approached me about proposing to buy in. So tell me about that.
So the scary thing for me at the time was, if there was some sort of buyout or partnership buyout or something, I was just an employee. And I was concerned that I had put in like so much blood, sweat, and tears over the years, building the business that we had developed. And it was really a great business. but I didn't have any equity stake. And so I felt insecure about that. Like if you partnered with somebody and they came in and they had their team and their staff, I could just be out and you might not have any say about it. And I would certainly not have any say about it. So in order for me to stay, I felt like I needed some security there. And that's my love language anyway, man. Like I need some security. I need to know that I'm safe. And so, I remember approaching you and you said, "Oh, I don't want a partner. Like I suck at partnerships and that will never work. And I'll just pay you more." And I'm like, it's not about that. It's not about the money. It's about, being a true partner. And you said, "Well, I already treat you like a partner." I'm like, "Well, I know. And I appreciate that, but I'm not."
Right. Fair enough.
So, you kind of asked me some questions of why it was important to me. And then I turned that around and said, "What would you do if I called you tomorrow and gave you my 2-week notice?" And you were like,
You're right.
"You're not going to do that, are you?" And I'm like, "No, but I'm asking you, what would you do?" And you said, "Well, honestly, I would have to probably shut the business down." Like it was only
I just said that to be nice.
Just a couple of, no, you were not.
I could have hired anybody off the street to do what you were doing. No big deal. I just thought you're cool.
So in any case, I said to you, "Well, I don't know how you sleep at night. Like if I'm your partner, then I'm not going anywhere." And you have that security as well of knowing that I will be there till whenever that is. And so then I just shut up. And then about 6 months later, you called me and said, "All right, how much do you want?"
Yeah, because the business was really jumping off, and we had received a formal valuation, so we knew what it was worth. We decided not to do the deal because it had like a long earn out for me, which I was like, I don't want to work for anybody. So we took that current valuation. You bought in at your 20% stake at the time. And then once we decided, we always ran the business efficiently and we socked away a lot of money, knowing that we might want to make a move to do something bigger, which we did in 2019 to move to franchising and launched at the end of 2019. Of course, COVID set us back, but here we are sitting on what we're on. So yeah, awesome. Well, and I'm really glad that I was right about you as a person because you're really, really smart. You learn really fast. You work really hard. It's a tough job to be a COO, especially through my lens, because the things that you do, I don't want to do.
And vice versa.
Well, and that's what makes it work, right? So I think we've talked about this a good deal on here before. We run EOS, which is there's a visionary and then there's an integrator. And I'm the consummate visionary and you're the consummate integrator. Yeah. So another term for that person would be COO, VP of Ops, whatever. But in your case, Chief Operating Officer, what does a Chief Operating Officer do in your mind?
So my role has evolved over the years.
Of course.
And so I used to do a lot of in the weeds operations. Like I literally did the work. And
we were small.
Right. I wore a lot of different hats. And, sometimes I would do payroll. I would pay bills. I would set up the new learning management system. I would build the Shopify store. I'm doing everything. And eventually, thankfully, as we've grown, we've scaled our team and we have people that are far better at doing those things than me. And we have people in those roles now. So my role now, although I still am involved in a lot of the legal aspects with our franchisees, and I have our franchise attorney on speed dial and talk to him at least a couple times a week about one thing or another. With the exception of that kind of administrative or legal work, I mostly just lead my teams.
Yeah,
so that's just holding people accountable, meeting with them on a weekly basis. We have an L10 and of course we have our leadership meeting each week as well. But it's just, holding everybody accountable, making sure that everybody's doing their jobs. And if they're not, kind of tweaking this or that, and just leading hopefully and building great teams.
Yeah. And that's tough to do. It is. I mean, people are both the most rewarding and the most challenging part of your role, I think.
It is.
And I see it because I mean, obviously it's my job to set the tone with culture and attitude and all those things. And that involves people as well.
Yep.
But you got to work with them like in the weeds based on their functions and that type of thing. So,
right.
Well, because you're in this role and you do have more interaction with franchisees than I do, certainly. What do you wish that franchisees knew about you?
Oh, gosh, that's a great question. Well, I think the first and foremost thing is that I genuinely care about them. I want them to win. I want each and every one of them to crush it. And, we do our best to choose partners who, are like-minded and who we feel like we'll get along with. And of course, everybody's got personality differences, but I really do care about them. And I hope that they feel that from me. And, sometimes I'm the one that has to have tough conversations with some franchisees if they're in default or they're out of compliance or, they're just not acting right, whatever. I have to make those tough phone calls. And it's so interesting because they're usually they don't go as bad as I am fearful that they'll go because people are like willing to listen and they kind of want to make me happy. And I'm like, hey, look, this is what you need to do. And I'm only having this conversation because I genuinely care. And I don't want to see you lose your business. This is a heads up. Like, let's get things right. We'll help you, but you need to get things right. It's your business at the end of the day. And I also make it a practice. I've just got somewhere, depending on how busy my week is, I just select 3 to 5 random franchisees and I just call them. And it's so funny because I get like a 90% pickup rate on the first time I call, which is really odd. Like that never happens.
Age, that's
that
nuts.
Never happens. And they're so, at first it's kind of like,
am I in trouble?
Yeah, like, why are you calling me? And I'm like, I'm just calling you to say hi. You've been on my heart. I've been thinking about you. Haven't seen you or talked to you since closing or since, whatever. And I'm just calling to see how it's going. How's it going? And they love it.
Of course.
It's really fun for them and it makes me feel good. And it's building that relationship. And we talk about that even during the sales process. Like, it's like, if we're doing our jobs as franchisors, this is a relationship for the next 10 years. It's not transactional. It's not like, let you get closed and now you're on your own and don't call me, I'll call you kind of thing. No, it's relational. It is a partnership. It's a fractionalized partnership from start to finish. And I just want our franchisees to know that we as a team genuinely care about them, but especially me.
Me more than anyone. But it's interesting you said that because Matt had a very similar answer. I asked him the same question. And he said, I want franchisees to win. I don't know that they understand how bad I want them to win.
Right.
And I think if I was sitting on the franchisee side, I could hear that as like, well, yeah, because that's how you guys get paid if we have revenue. But that's not where it comes from. That's
not it.
It's not it at all.
It's not about the money.
No. I mean, ultimately, it's how you keep score.
Well, right.
Yes,
sure.
Of course it's about the money. But at the same time, that's not the biggest why.
Right.
There's a lot of ways to make money.
Right.
You could be flipping houses.
I could
probably should have done that.
I probably
be stuck with me all these years. I probably shaved 10 years off your life having to work with me all this time. I'm so sorry because you're the best.
No, it's okay. We get you know what? We knew that going in. We were good friends before we started working together, and we got each other's sense of humors and personalities and stuff. And then we took that. I can't remember which personality test it was.
Oh, there's so many.
There were so many, and this was so long ago. But I remember taking that and emailing the results to you, and you called me and were like, we align perfectly. Mm-hmm. Like I'm like a 2-8-8-2 and you're an 8-2-2-8. Like it was like. Yeah.
Well, I think in your role, it's important for people to understand, like maybe you're just to the stage to hiring a COO, maybe trying to bring somebody in, that a COO needs, and again, we use the terminology from, EOS, which is integrator and visionary. Mm-hmm. I think the integrator has to be tolerant of the entrepreneurial brain of the visionary, right? And then the visionary has to be tolerant of the downstream effects of their ideas,
right?
And understand that the integrator's job is to create friction between what can be operationalized and how and when, because the visionary is just like, shoot out there, firing away both barrels.
Yeah.
Like, go for it, right? And so I think that dance and that healthy friction is really where the magic is, but it's harder than you and I know that it is because we know each other so well.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like, I think we dance that dance really well based on what I've seen in other companies. Like, there's no ego. We both want to win. We sometimes argue at times,
Sometimes,
I mean, all the time. I cut you off, talk over you, yell at me. You're like, what the hell? It's like, yeah, I mean, we have our things, of course, but I think overall, it works really well. And so just understand if you're stepping into that role or looking for one or what have you, or the way that Suzanne and I work together is that I'm always looking for new ideas. And I'm always thinking, again, I always say I try to climb a tree every now and then and make sure we're chopping in the right direction, right? And your job is to make sure we're chopping efficiently and we're getting it done. It's clean. The path is being cut, right?
Yeah.
What would you say are your biggest wins, or maybe just biggest win thus far as COO of the franchise?
Biggest win. I would say staying the course through COVID and a really scary time, man. I mean, that was a very scary 13 months, because we had been so financially frugal and disciplined while we had this very successful licensing business. And we just kind of socked all that money away, but we had a very clear budget of revenue that was coming in from our licensing business and from our corporate gym, and then other funds that we had saved, and as we're growing this franchise. And so we knew that, at some point the franchise would
there's an intersection,
right? An
there's
intersection.
A predicted churn for licensing,
Correct.
predicted growth for franchise, and then COVID rapidly expedited our churn.
Correct.
Right on the licensing, and it slowed our sales of the franchise, so it kind of jacked up our formula.
Correct. And so it was scary. Now it was just the four of us, because it was just Matt and Jared and you and me, and so. We just kind of focused on, I think, Jared was still kind of coaching some over at corporate.
Right, yeah.
We kind of just made do with what we had. And in the meantime, we are opening new franchises that we had sold prior to COVID hitting. And we were learning a lot, but just surviving that and then coming out of that. And we had been doing all the sales internally. And to your credit, you said we need to align ourselves with an FSO. It's expensive, but it will allow us to grow faster. And we're kind of behind the 8 ball right now with what COVID did to us. And it was scary, scary time. But we came out of that strong and, better. And then year over year over year, I feel like we're just doing such a better job leading our franchisees. And it's evident when you look at the new franchisees that are opening. They're opening so strong and they're making money right out of the gate. And we've learned a lot. And we put what we've learned into practice, which helps everybody. So, I think just where we are 5 years in, because it's been almost 5 years exactly. I'm super proud of what we built.
Yeah, same. That's really interesting. I didn't know where you would go with that. That's why I asked it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a broad answer because I'm just
it's a broad question. To be fair,
I'm proud of a lot of things that we've done. I'm proud of our team. I think we have some great people that we really care about, and we're just all learning a ton.
And we will be. I think I've heard it said by multiple people that 5 years from now, we'll probably look back at what we're doing now and be embarrassed by it, right? Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think anybody in their life should probably look back, even personally, what their thought process was 5 years ago, or their belief system, or what have you. And they should challenge that periodically.
Well, agreed. And I do look back at 5 years ago, and I think the first training that we had was disaster. We just did not know what was happening. And we have grown so much. So I think that's true. And I think that if you're being innovative and doing your job and you're growing, you would definitely want to look back and say, oh my God, I can't believe we did it that way. Yes.
In a lot of ways, right?
For sure. For sure.
But it worked. And our first franchisee opened in 2020 in the summer of, open full for the most part, and it's still doing great, right? So shout out to Lara and Kathy.
Yes.
Well, you said, we've been in it for 5 years. 5 years from now, where do you hope to be?
Well,
you joke about retirement, which I hate, but honestly, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
So honestly, in 5 years, I'll be almost 70 years old. So that's kind of
so crazy.
Getting along in the
You're
tooth.
so sharp.
Thank you.
For an old lady.
So I think I probably won't be in this current position. I wouldn't mind serving on some sort of advisory board or something like that.
I would want that.
Staying involved in some way. I love this company. I feel like it's my baby. I've been, at this for a really long time. And I don't see myself completely retiring. I don't even know ever.
I don't think it's good for you. Do you remember Tim Fulton speaking at conference?
I talked about this
18.
the other day.
He put a number up there. 18.
It was 17.
Yeah, the number of months that the average entrepreneur died after they sold their company. I'm like, wow.
I was telling somebody about this just the other day.
It's hard to believe.
People ask me all the time, like, when are you going to retire? How much longer are you going to
Why?
work? Well, I don't know, because almost all my friends are retired, or, they're like, why do you go to work every day? I'm like, because I can. I get to.
Oh, I love that answer. Yeah. Well, I mean, what we do helps people.
Right. So, I mean, there are other things that I want to do. And that's the caveat. I still want to flip a house.
Yeah.
Still might want to do that
you'd
real
be really
estate
good at that.
investment.
Yep.
So I'm just maybe I have one more house to build in my life. I love doing that too, and that would be for me personally. And
like your forever home or whatever.
Like it wouldn't be a big house; it would just be a little cozy.
I know, it's so funny how you settle into I really want this and I really want that.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So we'll see. But so I definitely have some projects. There's obviously things on my bucket list, places I want to visit and things I want to do. But I don't know. It's fun.
Well, and I get worried about you, burning out because like you said, you don't want to work forever, but you want to keep some foot in the door because what we do means a lot. And you're really important to that, and not just, from a functioning standpoint, but like culturally and everything else, right? Like we really need you to stick around as long as possible. All right. Last, no bonus question.
Okay.
Like if you could have one person over, living or dead, for dinner, who would it be?
Jesus.
Yeah, good answer. Then you could just ask whatever you want, right?
Yeah, I would. I think Jesus would be a really cool person to have dinner with.
Probably be pretty interesting. Yeah. Do you think he would have long hair and look like a picture?
Yeah, he'd be bare feet probably.
Yeah, hanging out, a little stinky.
He'd probably be
You could wash his feet. Don't they do
I
that?
could wash his feet with my hair. You dry it with your hair. You wash it with your hands and then dry it with your hair.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's biblical.
I know. Well, look, I need to study up a bit. Like I'm a little off.
I know you've got to study Bible. Get on with it.
Well, I need to get on
It's in
that.
the
You're right.
Gospels.
You're right. I know. Which one?
A lot of them are the same.
Was it Dave?
No.
Or is it Jim? Book of Jim?
Book of Rick.
Of Corey.
It's the Book of Rick.
It's the Book of Corey. Oh my God. I can get struck by lightning. Well, I appreciate it. I think it helps franchisees to understand how you ended up in the seat that you're in after being part of the company for 28 years in some capacity.
Yeah.
I think your lens as a customer is also important because you understand what that side of it. You're still a customer.
I still am.
We laugh about this because we have a limited number of spots. And so Suzanne's got a coveted time spot that she's had with a similar crew for 28 years, and she owns the company, and she still has to pay full rate.
I have to pay full price.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
It's whatever.
Oh, I love it. It is what it is. Yeah, exactly. But
gosh.
Well, cool. And I hope it helps people understand. And if you're trying to hire a CEO, hire Suzanne. I know that the Repham Group, Carrie, who you're all great friends with, works with 6 brands, maybe now 5 or 6 brands, and he's always like, Suzanne's the best COO by far. So if any other brands listening, sorry, but I don't think you are. So anyway, if Carrie's telling you the same thing, let me know.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, Carrie probably says that to all
He
of
says
them.
to all the ladies. That's right. All right. Well, appreciate you. And hopefully you'll be here as long as humanly possible. I'm going to get you some kind of genetic shots, or I don't know. There's some modern medicine's going to set you back like
Philip's doing all
30
this
years.
wellness stuff at his practice now. I'll check in with him.
Yeah, see what he's got.
Yeah.
Do some NAD shots and all this anti-aging
Shoot,
stuff.
sign me up, man.
Word. All right. Appreciate you.
Bye.